Yeah, so the meeting's gonna go past 8 o'clock tonight. We have a slideshow again. It's I don't know, maybe like 20 something slides. The topic is noun incorporation in Oneida language, which is kind of um it's kind of a little bit it's going to take some complexity and some time to go through. So um anyway, we're going to go ahead and get started with that in just a few minutes after I get the slideshow loaded up. Does anybody have any questions about anything?
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Um, how do you, I mean, I'm guessing that it's just over time you learn this, but when you're writing words, how do you know which um set of pronouns to use? Is it just what letter they start with? Is that how that works? Or
When you're writing words, what pronoun do you use?
yeah, I mean, is it when they start with a letter A, you just use the A stem pronouns? I mean, and how
Yeah,
does that? Okay,
when when the root word starts with the letter A, it means that you'll use all of the A stem pronouns um for that root word because it starts with the letter A.
okay,
hmm And also the way we presented those, you'll also you may also run across a question like, if I put the A stem pronouns on the A stem root word, it looks like there might be two A's, but actually the A of the root word will just kind of drop off, and the A that's in or actually the vowel that's in the pronoun will take its place. So
right, okay,
there's not two A's.
yeah.
Um, just so I just want to make sure that's clear.
Yes, I understand. Thank you.
Okay, cool. Yeah, no problem. Okay, so I got the slideshow up. Now I'm going to share my screen. Does anyone else have any other questions before we get started? Sickly, love everyone. Just replying on chat. All right. Yamanko G. Weswage no. Just want to say thank you to all of you for showing up today. Ndeglut Yawale Nyungwe Dake Weswagero. So there's 18 of you that showed up today. Watek Wanumilad. Just want to greet you and thank you for showing up here. And so I'm going to share the tab that we need now for the screen. I'll put this back right here. Swatka Toska Hakidunse. Can you all see my page?
Yep.
All right, so like I said earlier, we're gonna go a little bit later than 8 o'clock, maybe till 8:30, depending on how fast we get through this topic, which is an introduction to noun incorporation. Um, First, I just want to mention we are going to have a short break because the class is going to be a little bit longer. So at 7:50, we're going to take like a 10-minute break. Also, all the Zoom guidelines, we all know. And here's a couple warm-up questions. What words or phrases do you recall from the last class, and have you been including them in your daily routine? So drop that in the chat when you get a chance. That'd be really helpful for us. Now, let's get right to it. What is incorporation? What is noun incorporation? So, this is something that's a feature of the Oneida language and other languages that are called polysynthetic. Polysynthetic just means that they have a lot of verb tenses, and there's a feature where you can incorporate or put other root words inside of other root words and make huge long words, basically. And so our language is known for doing that. All of the Haudenosaunee languages are polysynthetic and known for doing that. And so it makes it very complex. And so when we start teaching the language, you like to teach the root words and then some nouns. And the nouns are objects, and these nouns are specifically ones that can be incorporated into other root words. And so not all the nouns can do that, but the ones that we're going to show you tonight, um, they are able to do that. And so when you know how to do noun incorporation, it's seen as like something that's more of an advanced a way of using your language skills. And when you start doing that, you start becoming more proficient. And it's easy to start doing that. We're going to show you how.
Your class is on.
Can you guys still hear me? Okay, so as I was talking earlier, we have a verb root or a root word, and it's combined with one noun, and it's called incorporation. So if we're thinking about a root word, and we're thinking about what its pronoun is, then the noun is going to go in between the pronoun and the root word, like a noun sandwich. So when you use that specific skill, it shows that you're becoming more proficient and have a mastery of the grammatical structures in our language. And also, it shows that you're learning, you're learning how to speak, because this is how our elders speak, and they use these noun incorporation all the time. Of course, they have a fluent, um, advanced mastery level of doing that, but we can start with something that shows us a pattern again. So we've gone over several different kinds of patterns so far in the language. This is another pattern. It's a pattern for incorporating nouns. And so basically, there's an example here. So this word right here, hadyadawit, that might sound familiar to some people. Hadyadawit is a shirt, a dress, a coat, a jacket. So right now it's in the middle of this word right here. You can see it, hadyadawit. So earlier, like I said, there's a pronoun and then there's a verb root. So the noun for shirt, dress, and jacket is like sandwiched in between those two things. And so when you do that, it sounds like Wagadyat Dawit Sly. I have a shirt. If you don't use noun incorporation, which is still okay to do, you can say it this way, which is another example. Wagyan Hadyadawit. Wagyan Hadyadawit. I have a shirt. So when you have more knowledge of how the grammar works, then you can incorporate that into the have or to have something verb root. And so we're going to use that verb root and others in this slideshow, and you'll start to see how this noun incorporation works. And we're only going to use an A stem, um, noun and a C stem noun.
Good
And
question.
so go ahead.
Good question. Yeah. So where does the particle fall into that then?
Particles would come before this word or after.
Okay. Because
Yeah.
I mean, from watching last week's lesson over again, I thought there was always three parts to a sentence. Would it be the verb, the particle, and the noun? Or
A particle is outside of what I guess the verb root would be. So when we're talking about making up a word in Oneida, you need a pronoun and you need a verb root. And so any particles, which are small combinations of sounds that give the meanings like what, how, where, so then, usually,
okay,
that, things like
almost like conjunctions.
kind of, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So
Is
those
is
go ahead.
is is a root synonymous with a verb? Those two terms?
Yeah.
Okay.
So the root word the root word method is based on the structure of an oneida verb, but there are also root words that are nouns in our language. Well, the linguists call them nouns. I wouldn't particularly lean towards the kind of noun that we have in English because a lot of our nouns are also very verby,
Yeah.
action oriented, basically describing something, an object, and then that meaning of that object is gleaned from that description. Does that make sense?
Yeah. There's
Okay.
always those exceptions. I mean, that's what I learned too, is there's always those exceptions with the nouns or any one of them. Like
Right.
some of the pronunciations of the pronouns when they fall within certain letters and stuff. Go on.
Yes. Especially when they have other sounds that come before them. It
Right.
affects it affects their sound sometimes. Mhm.
Got
Exactly.
it. Cool. Yeah, wait.
I
Yeah.
had a quick question about the example that you have on the screen right now. I'm
Uh-huh.
just trying to figure out how it's put together. So it's an A stem, right?
Yes.
And then the pronoun is, why is it the wag instead of just ka ga? Is it
And because it has to do with this verb root. This verb root is just Y and a caret if you look it up in the dictionary, if you're using that as a resource. And it's a Y and a caret, and it has the meanings of it has several different meanings actually. Have, to have is one of them. And so when we want it to mean have, we have to use the objective pronouns with it.
I
If
got it. Okay, so it's kinda more like the shirt is something which is had by me.
yes.
Okay, instead of I have a shirt, but
Yeah.
that's, like, how we would say it in English. Okay.
Yep. You got
Okay,
it.
thank you.
Yep. Yoyane. Exactly. If you remember back when we were studying the pronouns and I was talking about these objective pronouns having a relationship that sounds like it to me, or it to her, or it to him. So that's exactly what you described. The it in this case, right here, this example, is the shirt. So you're right when you say it is had by me. The shirt. But the shirt is an a stem noun. And so that's important to notice and take note of, because when you look at this verb root with just this y caret, like down here when we don't have noun incorporation, this is a different pronoun. It's a C stem objective pronoun when there's no noun in between the K and the Y. So when you incorporate, the noun that you incorporate is going to dictate what pronoun to use. And so we'll find that out on the next few slides too. There's some examples of that. So when we were developing this curriculum when I worked at the Oneida Language Department, we worked directly with Leander Danforth, and he came up with this exercise, this noun incorporation exercise. And so he would it's kind of like a practice, and it's kind of like a drill sort of. You go through and you make a noun good or bad. And the reason that you do that is because sometimes our nouns need a sound to connect them to the verb root. In some cases, it's called a joiner. In other places, it's called a nominalizer. It's just a sound that connects the noun root to the verb root in certain nouns. And so I can tell you from experience that it's mostly these A stem nouns that need a joiner. And so when we start out, we start from showing you how to make something good or nice, or also bad. In this case, the way we can say bad in Oneida language is not good. This basically says it's not good. Yate yoyane, it's not good. And then up here, yoyane, it is good. And so we have different suffixes we can use, or endings that we can use, that represent the meaning good or bad. So when you hear EO on the end, that means that something is nice or good. If you hear haksum on the end, then that means something is bad.
I don't know why you say swamp.
And so this is the way that you will pluralize if you have more than one thing that is good.
What that is in there? Gonna we go.
So when you have more than one thing that is good, this hiose is the ending for that word. And when there's more than one thing that's bad, haksons is the sound that the ending has. And so here's our A stem. The A stem refers to the A stem of this noun, which is, again, the word for shirt. Hadyadawit. Hadyadawit is just a shirt. So when we want to make it a good shirt, or we want to say that it's a good shirt, we have to do something called noun incorporation. So we're incorporating this hadyadawit into a descriptor of something that's good. And when that happens, we have to use the it pronoun for an a stem. So an a stem pronoun in the it pronoun category has wa as its pronoun, or in some cases, it's yo. So when we do our very first noun incorporation, this one in particular, like I said, a stems require a joiner. This SL is that joiner, or some people call it a nominalizer. Basically, it's going to make the sound slee. So when you add that and then you add this pronoun for it, wadya dawit slee, wadya dawit sleo is what you come up with. And it means it's a nice shirt or it's a good shirt. And the next example shows how the suffix changes when it's more than one good shirt. Wadya dawit sleos, wadya dawit sleos, wadya dawit sleoze. So then that means nice shirts or good shirts. We can also make it a bad shirt by adding this suffix hux, huxon. Wadya dawit slux, wadya dawit slux, wadya dawit sluxon. It's a bad shirt. And then we can have more than one bad shirt by adding this suffix huxos. So then it will sound like wadya dawit sluxons. Wadya dawit sluxons. Wadya dawit sluxons. So earlier we were talking about pronouns and how to match them up with the root word or the stem. And so I also made note that when we do noun incorporation, the pronouns have to match the stem or the root word. And so again, this word for shirt, hadyadawit, starts with the letter A, so it's an A stem. So we have to use the pronouns that agree with the A stem. And so this is the very beginning of how we can incorporate nouns into other verb roots. Because when we do this good and bad incorporation, it tells us what this joiner is going to sound like. What is it going to be? It's usually an SL, and it's usually on A stem nouns. So that SL has to come along. It has to come along with the noun when it gets incorporated. Just like how we saw at the very beginning in the example of Wagadya Dawit Sly. I have a shirt. So tomorrow or in the next couple days, you're going to get a curriculum book. And it has this noun incorporation exercise in it. The one that I was talking about earlier that that was developed with Leander and the language department. It's a really good exercise because it adds up the number of vocabulary that you can acquire rapidly. Like, it adds up very quickly. And there's only 1 or 2, I think, verb roots that are actually used, and the rest are kind of like what you're gonna see in these slides, descriptions. So, we can't forget that in our language, in the United Language, our verbs are descriptive. And so they're describing something. They're describing an action or they're describing an object. And so what we have here is an example with a C stem noun. And so this page right here, this page number reference, it goes along with that curriculum book that I was talking about, which you will receive in the email in the next couple days or possibly tomorrow. And so C stem nouns, again, we have to use the it pronoun that goes along with the C stem. So in that case, it's ga. And it could also be yo, but for the most part, to start out with this intro to noun incorporation, ga and wa are the pronouns that we're using. So when you make a C stem noun, good or bad, again, we need some joiners. And so this SL, again, it shows up. Now, it's not on all the C stems because they have a lot less of these joiners than A stems do. But this noun up here, gayatdun, gayatduni, it means a doll. And so gayatduni sli, gayatduni sli, gayatduni slio means a nice doll, a pretty doll, a good doll. Gayatduni slios, gayatduni slios, gayatduni slioze means good dolls. So you can also have a bad doll. Gayatduni slux, gayatduni slux, gayatduni sluxo. And then you can have more than one bad doll too. Gayatduni sluxos, gayatduni sluxos. And I thought I fixed all these typos. This I is not accented, only this A is. Gayatduni sluxo. Gayatduni sluxo se. So the good and like I was talking about earlier, the good and the bad noun changes, they are the most important change because everything comes or stems from the good and the bad. So we have to always do that before we start trying to incorporate that noun in any other verb root. Because that's going to tell us what the joiner is and how it's used and how we're going to bring it along to the next verb root that we're going to use. And so right here on this slide is 4 examples of the it pronoun for various stems that we could work with. So we worked with the wa and the ga for an A stem and a C stem. And then we have the ga is also used for the fake E stem. And a gun is the it pronoun for an I stem. So here's some more examples of descriptors. Guan, big. Gutniwa, small. Hius, long. Gahnius, short. And then doka nigu gadazaha just means a few, more than a few, which these two sounds on the end are used. So if I want to, basically what we're going to do next is we're going to incorporate our nouns from before into these descriptors. And so this column right here shows you kind of like a map of how it's going to look. So when we do this first one big, the first thing you're going to see is the stem pronoun for it. Then you're going to see the noun. Then you're going to see the ending, which tells us that it's big. And it's the same way as we go along. Small and short both have this sound ga in front that has to stay there. It has to be there. And so does this ni. So this ga ni is going to go before the pronoun, then the noun, and then the ending. And then for talking about a few things, more than one, so basically pluralizing or making it more than one, it only requires an ending change, a suffix. So suha or hoguha. So here we go. Here's our A-stem example. So again, remember when we made this shirt a nice shirt, what yat de wheat sla, what yat de wheat slee we had. So we know that this SL is going to come along with the noun incorporation. So then it sounds like what yat de wheat slawan, what yat de wheat slawan, what yat de wheat slawana. It's a big shirt. And then we can make it a small shirt too by following that map we had on the previous slide. Ga ni wajat dawit sla. Ga ni wajat dawit sla. Ga ni wajat dawit sla. And notice that this ending right here is the only part we have. And this beginning right here is also the only part we have that tells us that it's small. The rest is this verb root plus its joiner. So now we can make it a long shirt by using the same process. Wajat de wheat slice. Wajat de wheat slice. Wajat de wheat slice. And we can also make it short. Gatni wajat de wheat slice. Gatni wajat de wheat slice. Gatni wajat de wheat slice. So this is a whispered ending. I'm trying to whisper it. You can also fully voice it. Gatni wajat de wheat slice. Just remember when it comes to small and short, this gatni is you're going to hear that on the front before the pronoun, which is in this case wa. So then we get to we want to say shirts, more than one shirt. Hajatawit togu. Hajatawit togu. Hajatawit toguha is how we say more than one shirt. So here's our C-stem example with Gayat Duni, Gayat Dun, the doll. So Gayat Duni Sloan, Gayat Duni Sloan, Gayat Duni Sloana, a big doll. Gatni Gayat Duni Sla, Ga ni gaya duni sla. Ga ni gaya duni sla. A small doll. Gaya duni sles. I'm on this one right here. Gaya duni sles. Gaya duni sles. A long doll. And we can also say short doll. Ga ni gaya duni slesa. Ga ni gaya duni sles. Ga ni gaya duni sles. A short doll. And then more than one doll, we can add the suha ending. Gaya duni su. Gaya duni su. Gaya duni suha.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
So can you go back to that previous slide?
Sure.
So these are incorporated, right?
Yes.
So when you say a big doll, why do you need the joiner? Why wouldn't it just be Gayat Duni? Gayat Duni. It would just be that, right? Without the joiner.
And you're kind of answering the question for me
Yeah. Well, I mean,
because it's the joiner, to be
uh-huh.
honest, the joiner is there for pronunciation. It's there to, it's a sound rule in our language for it to be there. Meaning
Okay.
that some nouns, when they're incorporated, they need the joiner because of the way the sounds need to go together.
Hmm.
And so if you try to leave them out, it's very difficult to pronounce. And so I don't know, that's the best answer that I was ever given when I asked that
Okay.
question. But it's based, I mean, we have to remember that our language is an oral language, and right now it's it's in the predicament of having to be written.
Hmm.
And so that sound is part of a set of rules, and like in linguistics they call it phonology or phonetic rules. They're sound rules that tell us there's certain combinations of consonants that we cannot say all together, and there's some that are okay to say together followed by a vowel.
Hmm.
And in this case, the HSLO is what is used, because you see over here in just the root word guan, I mean, this K is acting like a pronoun, but it's not really.
Mm-hmm.
If I wanted to say it's big, I would have to add the ga, which is the it pronoun, gagwan, it's big. And so this guan is the root word, and you don't even see that K around here. Okay, this O is there now. And so I don't know. That's the best answer I can give about that joiner. And you know, some of the joiners are not SL. Some of them are different. And I don't know why they're that way, but they are. That's just the way the word is said. And so I don't know if that if that helps or confuses
Yeah,
more, but
kind of. Yeah. Wow, I can just imagine when the curriculums are being written for this, how tricky that would have been to
yeah.
translate to being written.
And also like this particular one, It's very useful and is very productive, meaning like you can use it in all kinds of situations. And so
Okay.
you can use it in noun incorporation to help describe an object and a noun, but you can also use it to describe people. And so when that happens, that's when our other pronouns for he and she and get, bound to this root.
Mm,
And so there's actually, two different, I guess, root words when it comes to this root. One is guan, the other one is hoan, which is what we see here.
mm,
So yeah, if you have one of those dictionaries authored by Mercy Dockstader and Karen Michelson.
mm. I think I only had one by Amos and Maria.
Okay, well, it should be in there too, and it should also be on the UWGB
Oh,
website.
okay.
So this root word, like I said, it has two different versions. It has guan, guana, or hoan, hoana. So either one can be used.
Mm, yeah.
Yeah, so
Mm,
check
mm,
into that, and there should be. I'm gonna see if the I have a PDF of the dictionary that I was just talking about, and I'm just gonna see if that can be sent
mm.
over email. It's kinda hard to send that one over email because it's, like, almost
Yeah.
too it's almost too big. It's, like, almost 25 megabytes, which is kind of, like, the limit on some attachments, but, um, maybe we could create a resource drive for this class and put it in there and then send the drive link to everybody. Because that dictionary is by far way more helpful in starting to learn some of these grammatical structures because there's explanations and there's example sentences and there's so many different um, ways that are given as examples in the dictionary entries instead of just like, a handful or one or two. And so I would really recommend that we do that to help the students. And there's some really awesome resources out there now um, that you can use to, to do independent study and even recordings on, certain websites and things like that that are really helpful because it's, recordings of first language speakers. And there's like a written text to go along with it. So you can see and hear,
Mhm.
at the same time while you're studying, which is helpful.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm gonna recommend that. Well, it's almost 7:50. Well, oops, there it is, 7:50. So why don't we take a 10-minute break here? I think we have maybe 10 more slides to do. Um, Honduadolis means we're gonna take a break. So Honduadolisa, Hoyeli, Nigahigalak. We're gonna take a break for 10 minutes. So we'll see you back in 10 minutes. Sagalis magwig. Swalhalega, Jidid Wadasa. Are you guys ready to start up again? So we have about 10 more slides to go through. These next few are going to be talking about incorporated counting. And so up here we have Jinyochi Hayuse, how someone would count, or the way that someone would count. And so we have a numbering system in Oneida that goes basically 1 to 100, and then various combinations of that can, you can count up to larger numbers. But for the most part, we have counting like Hoskadegen Haskay, Wisk, Yayak, Jadak, Dege, Wade, Hoye, like that. And of course, 1 to 100. But we also have a way to count things and objects. And so this is what we're talking about here, the incorporated counting. So this shows us how to do that. And so we're going to use noun incorporation again to count 1 thing, 2 things, 3 things, or more. The 3 things or more have the same, incorporated version of the word, just the number out front will change after 3. So when you get to hasa, gaye, whisk, or any more than that, you're still going to say the same noun incorporation after. So that's what this slide is trying to show us. And so when we start counting huska, we just count 1 thing. We need an S out front, and we need an AT at the end. And in the middle, again, we have the stem pronoun for it that goes with the appropriate noun. So we're still making a noun sandwich, but the pronoun comes along with it too. And that joiner sound is also going to still come along. Then when we get to making 2 things, we're counting 2 things. This day, which is our dualic sound, or 2, is comes out front, is the first thing we're going to hear. Then the stem pronoun for it that goes along with the noun. And then now we have a different ending. Hage. Hage. And then when we get to 3 or more, this ni comes out on front, followed by the stem pronoun for it, and then the noun, and then this ending, hage, which is the same for this one too. And so when we count things, we don't, when we count nouns, I guess, that can be incorporated. I'll just give you an example. Okay, so hojit daha is a bird. So if I just wanted to say 1 bird, I can't say Huska hojit dan, because that's not how we count birds in Oneida. We have to say skajit dan slut, which says 1 bird. So that's why we're showing this, because it's very important to realize that differentiation between English and Oneida. So in English, you can say 1 bird, 2 bird, 3 bird, like that. But we can't do that in Oneida. We have to say skajit dan slut. Dekajidanslak, Hasanikajidanslak. And so basically I just went through these first 3 with the noun for bird.
Can you, I have a question. Could you write that in the chat, the Scudgy John slot?
Sure.
Just so we can see it.
So while you're looking at the slide, you can notice that the S I'm typing first is for 1. So basically, it looks, let's see, let's do that. Scudgy don slut. 1 bird. De gaji don sluk. There's 2 birds. De gaji don sluke is the full word. And then haso ni gaji don sluke. Haso ni gaji don sluk. There's 3 birds. So if I want to say 100 birds, then I use our number for 100, Huska dewa nyawelu. Then I must follow it with Nikajiton sluk. Huska dewa nyawelu Nikajiton sluk. 100 birds. So let's try some examples. So here's our shirt word again. This is going to be used throughout this slideshow just to keep a common thread and to show how this word with its joiner from when we made it a good shirt travels along the noun incorporation patterning system. So this is the way someone will count with an A stem. So notice that here's the pronoun. So swadja the wheat slut. Swadja the wheat slut. Swadja the wheat slut. 1 shirt. De wadja the wheat sluk. De wadja the wheat sluk. De wadja the wheat slugge. 2 shirts. And hasa ni wadja the wheat sluk. Hasa ni wadja the wheat sluk. Hasa ni wadja the wheat slugge. 3 shirts. So then if I wanted to say anything more than 3 shirts, then I would still use ni wadja the wheat sluk, but after the number. So I could change this number 3 to anything above 3, and then ni wadja the wheat sluk. And that's how you would say that number of shirts. And then this down here is a little reminder that we have to bring that it pronoun along.
I had a quick question about this. Is there like an unlimited number of like verbs and descriptors you can add to incorporated nouns? Like, so for example, if you want to say like 2 good shirts, do you just add the good incorporator on there?
You mean like to this word here?
Yeah.
Oh, no, you have to do that separately. So remember when we went and we made more than 1 good shirt, we said wadja the wheat slios. Remember that ending changed a little bit when it was more than
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the word we would use. So you can say wadja the wheat slios de wadja the wheat sluk, which means 2 nice shirts. Or you can say it de wajat dewits lage wajat dewits dios. You can say it either way. Basically, it's the preference of the speaker of which word goes first. So if it's more important to the speaker to get the information across that it's 2 shirts that are being talked about, then they might wanna say, "De wajat dewits lage wajat dewits dios." But if it's more important that the speaker wants to get across the information that the shirts are nice, then "Wajat dewit slioze de wajat dewit slug" is how it's gonna be said.
Okay, so it kind of like directly translates to there's 2 shirts and they're good shirts,
Yes.
more or less. Okay,
Yep.
great, thank you.
Yep. Okay, so then we move on to our C-STEM example. So this is the way someone would count dolls. So skia skia oh my gosh. Skyat dunit slut. Skyat dunit slut. Skyat dunit slut is 1 doll. Degayat duni slug. Degayat duni slug. Degayat duni slugge is 2 dolls. Hasa nigayat duni slug. Hasa nigayat duni slug. Hasa nigayat duni slugge is 3 dolls. So again, if there's more than 3 dolls, then I still have to use nigayat duni slug after the number. Oops. So the remainder of the slides are going to use this verb root. So we were talking about verb roots earlier. And so after you get a handle on some of the things that we just presented, the good, the bad, the big, small, short, long, how to pluralize, that provides you the steps that you need to start incorporating it with what is known as a verb root. And so this is the one that was chosen. And again, this slideshow is following an outline of that practice noun incorporation drill I was talking about at the beginning of class. And so now we're to the point where we're going to say somebody has a noun. And so the noun's going to go here in the middle after the pronoun and before the verb root, and the joiner is going to come along with it. So this slide here is just shows you how that verb root to have changes, and it uses our pronoun patterning system that we learned about in classes past. So this first column sounds like wagi, or you could also say wagyan. Wagi, wagyan. Wagi, wagyan. When you're doing incorporation, though, this is the one that's going to be used. So, Zion, you have it. Lo, young, he has it. Yago, young, she has it. Yo, young, yo, she or it has it. Young, Yungni, Snee, sneon, lodi, lodion, yodi, yodion, yungni, yungnion, and then finally this column, yungwai, yungwayan, swai, swayan, lodi, lodiyan, yodi, yodiyan, and yungwa, yungwayan. So we're going to do noun incorporation with all of these changes we have on this screen here. That's why I was saying earlier the rapid increase in your acquisition is going to be phenomenal if you learn this drill. Because now you can change it. If you can change the word have 15 times and you can incorporate a noun into it, then you have 15 more other new words that you know how to say. So right here, I want you to take note that when we went through this patterning system, this is a C stem, right? These are C stem pronouns. You can recognize them. But now, when we bring our A stem noun plus its joiner to be incorporated, the A stem noun is dictating which pronouns we're going to use. So now it's an A stem and it's objective. So now we have to use all of our A stem objective pronouns on it. So this column sounds like wagadyat da wheat slay. Wagadyat da wheat slay. Zadyat da wheat slay. Lodyat da wheat slay. Yagodyat da wheat slay. Yodyat da wheat slay. Then this column, our dual column, sounds like Jungyat da wheat slay. Oh, that's not right. Jungyat da wheat slay. That's better. Jadyat da wheat slay. Lonadyat da wheat slay. Yonadyat da wheat slay. Jungyat da wheat slay. And then our third column sounds like Yungwadyat da wheat slay. Swadyat da wheat slay. Lonadyat da wheat slay. Yonadyat da wheat slay. Yungwadyat da wheat slay. So that's an example of how to incorporate an A stem noun into a C stem verb root. Now we're going to do the same thing with the C stem noun. And we're using the same verb root. It's a C stem. So the C stem noun, though, is what's going to dictate our use of pronoun. So wak, za, lo, yago, yo, and etc. These pronouns should look familiar from the C stem slide we went through. So now this column 1 sounds like wagyat dunislai. Wagyat dunislai. Wagyat dunislayan. I have a doll. Zayat dunislai. Loyat dunislai. Yagoyat dunislai. Yoyat dunislai. And then over here to column 2, Jungniyat dunislai. Sniyat dunislai. Lodiyat dunislai. Yodiyat dunislai. Jungniyat dunislai. And now to column 3, Jungwayat dunislai. Swayat dunislai. Lodiyat dunislai. Yodiyat dunislai. Jungwayat dunislai. So now there's 15 more new words that we can acquire very quickly. So the next thing that we used in this practice noun incorporation drill is how to say something is heavy or hard, or new or old. So when that happens, this is more descriptors. And so we have our word that means it's heavy over here, yokst, yokste. And then over here we have what it's going to look like when the noun is incorporated. Like that. And same with the word for hard, yochnil, yochnilu, and how it's going to look when it's incorporated with a noun. This new and old, I just want to take note. You can have these words by themselves. You can have these words by themselves too, of course. Haze, hagai, hagayu. The new and old have a feature where this O is on the front. And so I guess this is an exception to using the it pronoun that goes along with the noun. So just take note of that because they both start with the sound O. And so we'll see some examples of that in the next slide. So when we incorporate our A stem example, again, the shirt word, the A that's part of the A stem noun is going to drop off and you're just going to hear yo, but we still have to use the rest of the A stem noun word in the middle. And this time, this little sound right here is the joiner along with this SL. So sla is now the joiner. Yodyat dawit slakst. Yodyat dawit slakste. Yodyat dawit slakst. It's a heavy shirt. Yodyat dawit slani. Yodyat dawit slani. Yodyat dawit slanilu. It's a hard shirt. Maybe there's too much starch on it or something. So now when we get to the new and the old, take note of this O. The O is out here. Hodyat dawit slas. Hodyat dawit slas. Hodyat dawit slaze. A new shirt. Hodyat dawit slagai. Hodyat dawit slagai. Hodyat dawit slagayu. It's an old shirt. And now we're going to do the same thing with the C stem example. Yoyat dunit slakst. Yoyat dunit slakst. Yoyat dunit slakste. It's a heavy doll. Yoyat duni slani. Yoyat duni slani. Yoyat duni slanilu. It's a hard doll. Maybe it's one of those ceramic dolls or those hard plastic ones. And is the same for the new and the old. This O becomes our pronoun. Hoyat dunislas. Hoyat dunislas. Hoyat dunislaze. A new doll. It's a new doll. Hoyat dunislagai. Hoyat dunislagai. Hoyat dunislagayu. It's an old doll. All right, woohoo! We got done before 8:30. Okay, so now questions. So here's some questions to ponder on. What new concepts did you learn about today in tonight's class? And how does it help you move forward on your language learning journey? What connections did you make? We can talk about it now or drop it in the chat. Are you more confused now? This is another level of learning. It's like once you get this down really well, you're on your way to becoming a functional Oneida speaker. And so this is a very important process of this noun incorporation. And this is just a brief introduction of it. There's so much more that is included in noun incorporation because, like I said, this is a feature of our language and the Six Nations languages that it's just that's what our languages are known for. They're known for being able to do this. And so we have to keep that going as part of language reclamation and language revitalization and making new speakers and becoming speakers ourselves. So, does anybody have any questions? Or comments? I see that we all think that it's good to have a resource drive. Yeah, great. This once you get that, we just call it like we called it like the fourth, sixth months when we were making this curriculum, just because we thought that it would come at the end of a year two type situation where the whole first year was learning the pronoun changes for the subjective and the objective and all the 8 pronoun stems that are, verb root stems, I guess, that we could have. And then also learning some of the people to people pronouns too, which I think came in the third 6 months. But when you get that document, you're going to see how this slideshow kind of follows that outline of that practice noun incorporation drill. And so when we start thinking noun incorporation, and to be honest, it's not all the nouns. And I think I said this before, because there are nouns that are actual verbs, especially the ones that begin with a pronoun like ye or you. So there is a limited number of nouns that we're going to be using in noun incorporation. And those nouns are listed in that curriculum. So check it out when you get it on your email. I think when we listed them, it was probably like 130 of them or something like that. And they were mostly A stems and C stems, but some fake E's and I's and E stems. So there's a finite number of nouns, but there's an infinite number of ways that you can incorporate them to a gazillion different verb roots. Yeah, it would be nice to have once a month in the summer. Yeah, look back on the slides and the recordings. I think the links for the recordings are also going to be sent out to you so you can listen to the classes again. So I hope you all have a good summer. And if you do have any questions, just shoot the admin email the question and we can answer it for you, or send you some resources to continue with your learning. So, yo to everyone that's saying Yamako. I had fun too. I always have fun teaching. I just learn as much as everyone else does.
You
Well,
want to go?
yo,
Nakiwa.
Nagitwa, Swasundio Hux Wagwag. Have a good night, everyone. Wazegwag. I'll see you again.